Hello to everyone from Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, and anywhere else on the internet you happen to come from. My name is Veteran Douglas, and this is the first official announcement regarding the Twilight Garden Pokémon Ranch. Wait, Twilight Garden what? Twilight Garden Pokémon Ranch. As the Pokémon metagame draws harsher penalties for the use of illegitimate and hacked Pokémon, the means by which to acquire powerful, competitively viable team members grows a bit further out of reach. Further, with such a large number of Pokémon outside of the legendary classification, it can be readily difficult to match the franchise's slogan of "Gotta catch 'em all." For all of the free services that offer a similar bypass to the issue, they require that you either be able to meet their trade requirements, or be a part of their site's community to trade in currency that's only good in that limited economy. This is where the Twilight Garden comes into play, an affordable alternative to having to stock many rare or powerful creatures for the sake of trading, and without the risk of having your cartridge rendered unable to participate in the Pokémon Online scene. The garden is here to serve your needs. Conceived of the idea to cater to both casual and competitive players, Twilight Garden seeks to make your training experience in the Kalos and Hoenn regions a little more enjoyable, if not easier. Whoa, wait, you're a paid service? Why would you pay for a Pokémon? The answer is fairly simple. It is because your new partner or partners are being bred to your specifications. Just like you would pay a reputed dog or cat breeder for your new animal companion, and just as they work to carefully ensure that everything lines up, so too should a Pokémon breeder ensure. And so should they be compensated. Doing this in such a way as to satisfy the scrutiny of the judges, in this particular case, Pokémon Company, that takes time, no matter how incremental. An easy egg configuration can be achieved perhaps within a half an hour, but more difficult ones can take hours at a time. We aim to ensure that our work is fairly represented, getting you a product you are satisfied with. Just as well, we seek to keep recompense fair, charging you neither too much or too little. So instead of charging based on rarity of creature, or on the length of time and egg steps necessary to hatch your new friend, we're going to use a sort of bells and whistles approach. As shown in our pricing table, which is available on facebook.com/Twilight Garden Ranch, or Tumblr at twilightgardenranch.tumblr.com. If you would like, we can also email you that pricing table. So what does this service entail? Here's how the pricing breaks down. The lowest rate possible, $5 US, gets you a basic Pokémon with whatever gender, nature, ability, IVs, and moves it hatches with. This option is best, of course, for collectors trying to fill up their Pokédex, no matter how rare the specimen or how difficult the egg is to hatch. For those who wish to customize their critters, though, they can pay an incremental increase of 25 cents US per upgrade to better a feature in any of the following categories: basic baby item, egg moves, maximized IVs, gender, nature, ability, and color, size, season. What's a basic baby item? No. Basic baby item. This category refers to the species of the Pokémon at hatching. Basic Pokémon are unevolved in any way, and constitute the greatest percentage of hatch results. Baby Pokémon, in the context of this service, refers to Pichu, Cleffa, Igglybuff, Togepi, Tyrogue, Smoochum, Elekid, Magby, and Riolu. Item, or Item Baby, is a designation I am reserving for Volt Tackle Pichu, which requires the Light Ball, Azurill, which requires the Sea Incense, Wynot with the Lax Incense, Budju with the Rose Incense, Chingling with the Pure Incense, Bonsly with the Rock Incense, Mime Jr. with the Odd Incense, Happiny with the Luck Incense, Munchlax with the Full Incense, and Mantike with the Wave Incense. Breeding a basic Pokemon is relatively easy on its own, and thus the least would be charged for it. Baby Pokemon require extra time investments because you cannot use them in breeding. You have to evolve them first, which requires more time and effort. Item baby Pokemon require the most time, as their parents must have the listed item held by one of them, thus increasing the amount of time to nail down a specific stat layout and nature. To your advantage, though, because of the difficulty of nailing down the natures of baby and item baby specimens, these factor into the pricing, so you are only charged as is later in the nature category. Okay, so explain maximized IV? It's okay. Under this category, you can somewhat freely customize the internal values, or IVs, of your specimen. Put succinctly, these hidden stats determine how high the visible statistic they tie to can grow. A maximized IV of 31 allows the stat to reach near optimum growth. So the lowest tier here affords you 3 stats with such a maxed out capability, chosen quite at random. Next is 3 stats where you, the customer, pick which stats are maximized. The process repeats for the 4 maximized stat tiers and the 5 maximized stat tiers. Okay, what's an egg move? The egg move category is perhaps the most self-explanatory. Among the moves that a hatchling can learn are special selections that they don't pick up in their normal move pool, but instead inherit from their parents. The more egg moves the patron desires, the more time and resources Twilight Garden has to allocate to finding suitable parents to pass the moves off with. The more egg moves you desire in the specimen starting move pool, the more that would be charged, up to 4 moves. What about gender? Now this tricky bird is one of the things affected gravely by chance. The lowest tier in this category is reserved for Pokemon either of one gender or without gender, like Kangaskhan, Rufflet, or Beldum. It also covers the more common gender in the highest 2 tiers, like a male starter, for example, in the event of a 1/8 rarity. Now, in the event of a 50% split to gender, the next tier allows our patron to select between them. The third of these levels has the rarer sex occurring 25%, or 1/4 of the time, and thus is a more expensive option. The final tier, drawing back to what I just said, is reserved for the rarer sex occurring only 12.5% of the time, or about 1/8, and this is appropriately the most expensive option. Explain nature. This refers to the variable of the same name within the game that affects how a Pokemon's stats will grow. The as-is tier would be whatever the little one hatches with, good, bad, or otherwise. With 25 different natures, this makes for a really broad drawing pool. A neutral nature is one of the 5 within that larger pool that do not affect growth. These are hardy, docile, serious, bashful, and quirky. Beneficial natures increase one of the 2 stats most useful to a Pokemon, but in return will either decrease the other, or a tertiary stat that they might still need. Ideal natures are the one specific trait that raises one of the 2 main stats, and out of the other 5, besides HP, lowers the least useful stat. It is well worth repeating here that this particular pricing field will only be applied separately to basic Pokemon, as it is already factored for baby Pokemon and item baby Pokemon. So what does ability mean? The category here refers to the special power that a Pokémon has both in and out of battle. The as-is classification here refers to those that only have one ability, or among two, one that is randomly assigned. If the Pokémon has two standard abilities, the patron may select one of them in the next pricing tier. And finally, if the Pokémon has an hidden ability that has been released to the public, the patron may elect for this selection at the highest tier. So what does color, size, season mean anyway? Don't worry about the confusion there. This last category actually applies specifically to Shellos with its east and west varieties, Basculin with its red and blue striped varieties, Deerling with 4 season varieties, Flabebe with 5 color varieties, and Pumpkaboo with 4 size varieties. The as-is tier for this will be whatever ends up being bred, while selecting a specific modifier is considered an add-on. So does the rarity of the Pokémon affect anything? Does this mean you'll breed literally anything? As mentioned previously, Twilight Garden does not base our pricing on rarity of creature or on egg steps required to hatch that resulting egg. Very often these two variables will line up with one another. Now, with that being said, this Pokémon Ranch will not offer the following options: perfect specimens, shiny Pokémon, hidden power configurations, EV training, and legendary Pokémon. So what's a perfect specimen? This is defined as a Pokémon with all 6 of its stats having an IV of 31. So we do offer the ability to order a Pokémon with 5 IVs at their maximum value of 31, and even a choice in how those values are spread. But far more than even gender, the odds of achieving a specimen with 6 perfect 31 valued IVs is so prohibitively high, there is no way Twilight Garden can reliably offer such an option. And shiny Pokémon are what exactly? Those with an often radically different color palette than usual, and they are incredibly rare. Even using the popular Masada method, a shiny only results about 0.00073% of the time. That is absurd. As with breeding a perfect specimen, breeding for shininess is entirely prohibitive. So again, this is not a service that can be offered. What in the world do you mean by hidden power configuration? There's a move in the game called hidden power, and it depends entirely upon your Pokemon's internal value scores to determine. There is an enormous table by which to help one configure their choice. We already offer the capability to hand-pick your IV spread, thus rendering the need to offer a hidden power option redundant. Furthermore, considering that some configurations have to have values between 0 and 31, it can be incredibly difficult to manipulate those numbers legitimately. Doesn't EV training match IVs somehow? They do. Effort value scores, or EVs though, are accrued either by training your Pokemon in the field, using stat-enhancing vitamins and wings on them, or using the super training in the PSS menu in-game. Twilight Garden is a Pokémon Ranch, a breeding service. We are not a training service, and thus will not offer an option that takes on the responsibility of training your Pokémon for you. And you're not doing legendary Pokémon, why? Okay, this is probably one of the most obvious services that the Twilight Garden cannot offer. First, legendary class Pokemon cannot ever be bred, except in the case of Manaphy and Phione, and even then, each egg only results in a Phione. The only way to customize such a Pokemon from the ground up would be to hack the game, which is in direct conflict to what Twilight Garden is not only offering, but attempting to accomplish. Legitimately bred Pokemon at a fair price, without the risk of getting the customer banned from online play. That's an awful lot to take in. On another note, though, do you offer any discounts? Well, to summarize, the Twilight Garden seeks to offer you a wide gamut of options, both in customization and in pricing. Now, as a blanket statement, these prices are going to be largely beyond negotiation. This laborious effort is going to take something that I greatly love and allow me to make work from it. Work that I'm adding to 2 jobs that already eat a lot of time from my week. Work that means my time spent doing this will have to be worth it. I'm not just creating an egg. I'm providing a service. I'm creating a link between you, my guests and patrons, and said service. And everything that encompasses takes time, energy, and even stress levels, which I feel I deserve a fair wage for. Please remember to be patient and understanding of that. How would I place an order then? Well, first, no matter how you found me, please email me at trueryo86.com, which you can also find at the ranch's Facebook page and Tumblr page. Please make sure to put in the subject line either Twilight Garden or your intent to order. I get a lot of spam and I want to make sure that I don't miss your request. Please also make sure to include in the message your Nintendo 2DS or 3DS friend code, as well as your user nickname, so that I can reach you when the process is complete. For each Pokemon you want, though, you're going to need a detailed list of what you're after. As an example, we'll use my field team leader, Umbreon. To order Umbreon, you would actually need the following. Basic Pokemon, Eevee. 5 maximized IVs. Maximize everything but attack, putting you in the 5 chosen category. Egg moves. 1. Curse. I presume that you know that you're going to need to specify your egg moves. In a 1/8 rarity, the rarer gender, female. A calm nature, ideal, being that special defense is raised by calm, where the least useful stat, attack, is lowered. Synchronize, her default ability. And size, color, season as is, because she has no modifier there. This is also when and where you may request a reasonable, unoffensive, and non-vulgar nickname for your new friend. I cannot trade over basically anything Nintendo Wi-Fi if it does not conform to their guidelines and restrictions. Please remember that. All in all, this is pretty comprehensive, and you can even email it in the table outlined with the pricing guide if you wish. I'll tally everything up, I'll give you a total, and I'll send you a confirmation. For Umbreon, for example, that would be $8 even. Once we've got everything lined up, and you've agreed that you're going to pay, I will begin work on your new companions. Please, again, remember to be patient. You mean you're not even going to begin work until I agree to pay? How does payment work? This is where the matter of brass tacks quite literally comes into effect. As is the standard protocol for retail, I'm not going to tender product unto you until I have received payment. So you do kind of want to tell me that, oh yeah, no, I'll pay the rate so that I know to work on your order. Accordingly, you will be sent an invoice, or in the event we get to do this locally, I'll handwrite you a receipt. Otherwise, though, paying online, please use my PayPal at paypal.me/Twilight Garden Ranch. Once the payment clears, then we will handle the trade. And please bear in mind, while you are free to trade whatever you wish, please note that I am not going to issue any discounts for legendary Pokémon, so I would welcome you to use more common specimens. It is here that I would like to say that I do want to make sure that you are satisfied with your new companion, and I aim to ensure that you are pleased. This said, once you have the Pokemon that you have paid for, it is yours. It will be as you specified, as you asked for it. And as such, sales will be regarded as final. This is out of no desire whatsoever to inconvenience you, and down the line, I may elect to change this policy, to amend it. But at the moment, it will stand and it must stand. And I do very much appreciate your understanding that. Of course, before payment, even so much as before ordering, you are more than free to contact me with questions or concerns. And you may reach me at any point during the process up to payment and trading, and I will reply as best as I am able to, as quickly as I am able to. That being said, I wish to very humbly thank you for considering the Twilight Gardens Pokémon Ranch for your Pokémon breeding needs. This is Veteran Douglas. Hey all, this is Veteran Douglas. Just wanted to thank you for taking the time to sit through my introduction guide for the Twilight Garden Pokémon Ranch. I do want to apologize for the choppiness and general lack of order that the video seems to present. Still kind of wading through the field here. But don't forget to check out the Tumblr page, twilightgardenranch.tumblr.com, and the Facebook page, facebook.com/twilightgardenranch, as well as to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more news and videos as they become available. I'm almost ready to enter launch, so I will be taking on guests and orders here pretty soon. Should only be just a few more days, so, keep an eye out. Otherwise, guys, until the next time, this is Veteran Douglas. Take it easy.